Welcome back. This is your curious European friend, and today, per request, I will be reacting to the Rats of Tobruk. Now, I don't know too much about them yet. I think they were a predominantly Australian force with British, Indian, and Polish troops as well, who defended the Libyan town of Tobruk. So yeah, let's go ahead and find out more.
In 1939, after the German invasion of Poland, Australia, along with its allies, declared war on the fascist nation. Australia, despite being located on the other side of the world, hurried to send men over to fight alongside her British allies. The Australian Imperial Force was once more established and sent to Egypt, where they would train and acclimatise to the hot African weather. The Australian forces joined up with fellow Commonwealth countries, such as India and New Zealand, and prepared to join the war in North Africa.
Oh, New Zealand as well. Oh, what is this?
The town of Tobruk was located in the eastern part of Italian Libya and was a very important location due to its deep sea port. The deep sea port of Tobruk was vital to any effective advance along the North African coast. Due to the harsh terrain, there was little to no infrastructure along the North African coastline. As a result, majority of the supplies had to be shipped in. Due to Tobruk's strategic location near the Libyan border with British Egypt, it was vital to both sides if they wanted to push the other out of North Africa. After the Allied invasion into Italian Libya, the Allies were able to capture Tobruk and continued to push west. It wasn't until the arrival of Erwin Rommel's Africa Corps that the Allies were pushed back out of Libya. The Siege of Tobruk began on the 10th of April 1941 with Axis forces surrounding the city. Within Tobruk laid an Allied garrison led by General Leslie Morshead, which consisted of mostly Australian troops with British artillery and a number of Indian troops in support. These troops were able to be sporadically supplied from the deep sea port in Tobruk. The Suez Canal allows Britain to communicate with its Asian colonies and allows for quicker movement between Asia and Europe. Without the canal, all transport and communication would have to travel around South Africa, adding weeks or months to the journey, severely hindering the Allies' ability to wage war. Thus, it is pivotal that when Rommel attacked, Tobruk was held at all costs. The overarching objective of the Allies in North Africa was to ensure the security of the Suez Canal and remove all Axis forces in North Africa, allowing for complete dominance in the Mediterranean Sea. The German-Italian force was led by General Erwin Rommel, also known as the Desert Fox. This Africa Corps consisted of tank and infantry battalions. Unlike the Allies, the nearest deep-sea port under their control was Tripoli, which was some distance away. As a result, supplies had to travel overland to arrive at the front line, which often led to delays and often caused mechanical malfunction in the transport vehicles. The Axis objective was to capture the Suez Canal, which would cut off the Allies' Asian forces and secure the Axis southern flank. The Australian forces in Tobruk played a vital part in the defence of the city. Tobruk itself was very difficult to attack, having kilometres of flat land surrounding the town, which made spotting the attacker an easy undertaking. The siege began on the 12th of April 1941 with Axis forces attacking the city rapidly in 3 separate attacks. The Australian troops, which made up the vast majority of the garrison, manned most of the outer perimeter. The stern resistance of Australian troops came as an unpleasant surprise to the German forces on the ground. The soldiers fought against the odds to hold the perimeter of the town. Unlike in Europe, General Leslie Morshead was able to successfully prevent the German blitzkrieg tactic by allowing the enemy tanks to pass through, then ambushing the following support infantry, cutting the tanks off from supply where they would then be hit with anti-tank and artillery fire, which would either destroy or force the units into retreat. The outwitted and comprehensively defeated German attack only inspired the men to continue fighting and to hold Tobruk at all costs. The stubborn resistance of the Allied forces was the target of German propagandist William Joyce, better known as Lord Haw Haw. He began describing the besieged men as living like rats in underground dugouts and caves. Much to the delight of the Axis, the Allied troops wore the title of the Rats of Tobruk as a badge of honour.
Yeah, that's honestly, yeah. He should be proud of that because they were savages, clearly, the Australian troops, and were able to hold them off on this terrain, which isn't easy, like I can imagine. If you have this flat land and you can see them coming, you don't have the element of surprise, so you need other tactics. And it seemed like they figured those out. And I guess the other troops that they were fighting against, the Germans, could not take that. They were like, okay, you're Rats of Tobruk. That's, what's the word I'm looking for? Not ironic, but like kind of legendary. I don't know what the word is, but yeah, kind of legendary that they took on that name that the Germans used as an insult, and they were like, "Yes, we are the Rats of Tobruk, and get ready."
The Australian general adopted an offensive strategy which involved harassing and attacking the enemy. He actively ordered patrols into no man's land to ensure Allied domination there, refusing to yield any territory to the Axis forces.
Yeah, I guess what can you do if you have this flat land? Like, yeah, I guess there's not really many strategies or tactics that you can take, but yeah, that's crazy.
Aggressive defence style proved effective in repelling enemy attacks and tying up additional Axis troops and resources in the area. The absolute tenacity of the Australian defenders was on full display when 22 men under Lieutenant Jenkins moved deep into no man's land to attack a group of Italian soldiers hiding in a valley. With the use of explosives and bayonets, these 22 Australian men managed to capture 74 Italian soldiers and
What? This makes me think of the Canadian story of Leo Major. Different, but just like with few men, they were able to capture so many more of the enemy's men.
Italian officer. With a withdrawal request from the Australian government approved, the Australian soldiers who had fought for so long left Tobruk. Throughout the siege, Rommel's Africa Corps continued heading east. However, the advance was troubled due to logistical problems from stretched supply lines, which could have been resolved if they had only taken Tobruk. The Rats of Tobruk had been a menace in the eyes of the Axis, as it threatened, amongst other things, its communication lines, which prevented the further advance of Axis forces. The value of the successful defence of Tobruk was vital to the later Allied advance west. In 1942, the newly arrived garrison at Tobruk surrendered to Rommel's armies. In total, the siege lasted 14 months, with the Australian troops defending it valiantly until their withdrawal in the later months of 1941.
14 months. Just imagining that. It's insane.
The Axis capture of Tobruk had been extremely costly, making them expend large sums of resources such as tanks and lives, in addition to hindering their efforts in invading Egypt. Rommel's Africa Corps had been weakened, and this weakness laid the groundwork for the future Allied victory at El Alamein and the defeat of the Axis forces across North Africa.
Wow, this is crazy. Like, I had never heard of the Rats of Tobruk. I guess it's a lesser known thing, a lesser talked about battle. But I'm thankful for this video because now I know, and yeah, what all went down there, and yeah, much respect to anyone who fought there to save Tobruk. And yeah, let me know if you know anyone who did. If you have any stories. As always, I ask that because yeah, I'm just interested to know if you do want to share, of course, and if you have any. But yeah, I can only imagine the horror and terror that went down there and how many lives were lost. So I think, again, let us learn from this, and hopefully history does not keep repeating itself.